What's going on, guys? Tectonic Edge here. We've got a new banned and restricted announcement for June 1st, and it's a bit of a doozy. Not because they made any real bans, but this change to the companion rule. I know a lot of people saw this coming. The Wizards was talking about it. I was definitely hoping for it, although the rule they gave us is a lot more of a nerf than I thought they were going to do. I was voting for the companions or a mechanic somewhat like at the beginning of the game you may discard a card to add the companion to your hand. What we got was once per game, anytime you could cast a sorcery during your main phase. When the stack is empty, you can pay 3 generic mana to put your companion from your sideboard into your hand. This is a special action, not an activated ability. So that means pretty much they just increase the cost of every mechanic by 3, and it has to go in your hand. So decks that play the Lurrus are less likely to actually run it. Although I think this does disproportionately affect decks that are banking with the companion as the main component of their strategy. Decks that are just adding it in to have something to go and grab and as a free add can probably keep it in there. It's just going to become a lot less viable to go and get. Like, you're probably not going to see the burn decks running Lurrus also running the Seal of Fires. They're more than likely just going to, if they are still running the Lurrus, they may not be at this point. This is a pretty big nerf. Just going to run it for when they run out of cards, and then pay the 3 and pay the 6. I mean, Lurrus doubled in mana cost. A lot of other cards, plus you still have the other restrictions, so I definitely think this is a big nerf, and we are going to see a lot of decks either disappear or move away from the companion strategy. At the very least, the companions are going to become a lot less. So the companions with minor rule changes, like Lurrus, any deck that is still running less than mana cost 3 stuff will probably still sideboard him in, just because it's still free. It's just a lot more expensive now, so he's not as good, and you don't want to build your strategy around it. But things where you actually had to build around, like the Garuda combo, I do think that one's going to disappear. I'm trying to think of some of the other decks that are based around. Obosh is probably going to disappear. We're going to go back to more the Gruul. And this is all in Modern. If you haven't seen any of my videos, I'm definitely looking at this from a Modern standpoint. I'm playing a lot of Modern from the Tron standpoint. But yeah, Gruul is probably going to move more into, honestly, the Luca combo. I've seen that play a couple of times, and that's pretty powerful. Scape Shift is probably going to move away from the Yorion build. Although 3 mana for them isn't the worst to cast and get to your hand, but it at least gives people the chance to interact. Tron may on occasion still play the Jegantha, but that extra mana means it's not a turn 3 play anymore, so I am not the biggest fan. But yeah, looking at the other banned announcements, we had 2 cards banned in Standard and Historic, Agent of Treachery and Fires of Invention. So take a quick look at these guys. Agents of Treachery. When Agents of Treachery enters the battlefield, gain control of target permanent at the beginning of your end step. If you control 3 or more permanents you don't own, draw 3 cards. Alright. And Fires of Invention. You can cast spells only during your turn, and you can cast no more than 2 spells each turn. You may cast spells with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control without paying their mana cost. Okay, yeah, I've seen that actually played a couple times in Modern. I could see these getting banned, especially if they're taking over the format with something new. But yeah, this rule change is definitely a big one. If you go down and actually read the reasons why, they're seeing the large portion of the meta taken up, and with these decks, I think this is actually the first time we've seen them completely change a mechanic like this as part of play. So this isn't actually a ban, it's just a literal rule change. Yep, here it is. One reason for making this change is based on the metagame data and play rates of companion decks across all formats, and on player feedback on repetitive gameplay patterns. As a group of decks using companions have too high of win rates and metagame share in Standard, Pioneer, and Modern, and have already necessitated bans in Legacy and Vintage. Honestly, they probably needed bans with the old rules in Modern and Standard as well, but they didn't. They wanted to see how it would press out before doing that, and they settled on the rule change instead. I'm guessing that means they didn't want to ban every single card with the companion mana rule. We discussed several alternate rule changes, but ultimately settled on this one as it best mitigates the potential for repetitive gameplay and provides a wider window for interaction. By charging additional mana, playing a companion becomes less efficient relative to playing other cards the player has drawn. In this way, players are more likely to cast their other spells before their companion, resulting in more divergent game paths. Next, the additional mana will often slow the companion down by a turn, allowing the opponent to interact with it while it's in the companion player's hand, or otherwise giving the opponent an additional turn to play ahead before the companion hits the battlefield. Yep. It's rare that we use a rules change to address metagame balance, and it isn't something we have plans to do in the future. In this case, the issue wasn't with one individual card, but rather the companions as a group. We believe this solution is preferable to potentially needing to make multiple bans across different formats over time. Yep. Alright, cool. So Wizards pretty much addressed all this. I don't really have much more to say on this. Got some... I need to rethink some of my Tron deck list and how we're going to move forward in the meta. Without jegantha, I don't think Golos is going to be the most popular, and I wasn't the biggest fan of his going into or even with jegantha. I've been playing him. I think I got him off once in 4 leagues. But yeah, thank you for watching. This is Tectonic Edge, signing out.